In Europa Universalis V, markets and trade are one of the most important features in the game, but they're really complex, and market centres feed into that. But you need to know what they do, how they affect your provinces and your economy, as you could try and take it over in a peace deal. You could move your market centre to a different provinces to maximise your bonuses, or you could choose to do none of this, but you need the information. So here's exactly what a market centre does, and why it's important. Firstly, each own market centre you have gives province-based bonuses and country-wide bonuses. A location that is a market centre gets +5 to its max building levels, 25% institution growth, +2 trade capacity, +20 trade advantage, +0.025 migration attraction, and 250 maximum stockpile capacity in its market. And as I'm sure you can see, these buffs aren't that weak. They're quite substantial. So if you have the option to take a market centre, why not do it? It's worth the war score. And luckily, they also give countrywide bonuses too. Each market centre gives you +1% burger estate satisfaction equilibrium, reduces the cost of destroying markets by 10%, and progresses you monthly by 0.05 to mercantilism. And these stack across your country. So we're Serbia. Say we take over the Dubrovnik market, the Pest market, and the Constantinople market. That would be 4 market centres. So 4% estate satisfaction equilibrium, etc., etc. And these stack quite highly. So if you consider the reduction in cost to destroying a market, we're already down 5 stability and 2.5 prestige, just because we've got a market centre. Yet, imagine if we had 9, that would be 90%, taking it down to 5 stability and 2.5 prestige. That is ginormous. Like the aforementioned destroying a market, being in control of a market allows you a lot of choices about it, and some diplomatic options as well. For example, relocating the market. This will set you back a base cost of 800 ducats, but it can be a very wise investment depending on your game situation. For example, ensuring that you have equal market access, or as much as possible, across your nation. At the moment, we have some large differences. Market access is essentially your control over provinces that your market has. So different to control and proximity, don't get me wrong, but it represents a proportion of the goods from your buildings that reach your market from that land. For example, in Orhid, we have 45% market access, which means that we only get 45%, of the productive capacity of our buildings here. Whereas we have 100% market access in our market centre, obviously, which means that we get our full base 100% productive capacity, and then our productive efficiency on top, meaning that we get 1.11 wool from this Spinners Guild, and 1.11 paper from this Papermakers Guild. Now I don't want to go too deep onto this, because I have already done a separate video on market access. I'll leave the link in the top right. But market access disseminates similar to proximity, whereas it reduces on a province by province basis. So the easiest way to improve this is through a road. Each road reduces the market access cost by 10%, which means that you might want to choose your market location, not necessarily on the centre of your mass, but your centre of your road network, or where you're planning on building it. And you're very strategic about where you choose your capital, for obvious proximity reasons. So it definitely makes sense to take the same care about choosing where we put our market. And this being in your hands, rather than the AI or your rivals, cannot be a bad thing. So roughly, where is best for you to put your market centres? Well, market attraction is a main component out of which provinces go into your market. So if you're trying to attract some really high value RGOs, you need to take this into consideration. And it directly scales with the development and the staff buildings in your market centre. So when you're choosing your most optimal market centre, you should consider the development of the province, what buildings it's already got in it. Obviously, you'll be building up throughout the game, but it's still something to consider. And most importantly, the roads around it or the road network that's emanating from it, as this is your main way to increase your market access around your nation. Being in control of a market also allows you to embargo rival nations that are trying to profit off your trade. So if you do embargo someone, they can no longer complete trades in your market and utilise your really valuable RGOs for their own gain. This only costs 1 diplomat and 25 relations with the country in question. Ultimately, there's so much you can do with market centres in this game that isn't inherently clear. And I think something that EU5 really needs to work on is how clear these mechanics are, because at the moment, they're keeping me in a job. So if you enjoyed this content, please consider liking and subscribing. It's much appreciated. Have a great day.